The holiday season has passed, and while it may have been probably the happiest season for so many people out there, it's honestly probably the loneliest for so many other people out there. A study in 2022 showed that 55% of Americans struggle with holiday loneliness. Now, I know that's a really big number. That's pretty much a little bit over half Americans, at least in the study. But I honestly pretty much get it. See, ever since COVID happened, most of our social skills, especially my generation, Gen Z, have honestly been dulled a lot, because with so many people losing family members due to COVID and not actually being able to see people face to face for about a whole year and even more, it's honestly had effect on pretty much all of us. But I do think that loneliness, a part of it is what we brought onto ourselves. If you don't know who I am, my name is Gian, and this is basically the Why approach. And this is basically where we talk about certain personal development aspects that we can actually integrate in all of our lives so that we can get closer to the reason why God created each and every single one of us. Because we all have a purpose. But the thing is, how the heck do we actually get there? And also find it out. So I'm just sharing with you everything that I've learned in the past couple years with personal development, with my relationship with God, in hopes that it could actually help you. Now, as you've just heard me say, I love talking about personal development. And I kind of saw this trend in this space that really popped off ever since the lockdowns pretty much happened. And it was basically this, the lone wolf mentality. So for instance, if you've ever seen TikToks, it's always like the one of the guys literally hitting the gym or maybe working on their laptop, like, in 15 different angles, saying basically it's better just to disappear from your social circles and like society for like 6 months to a year. And in those 6 months into a year, you're basically working on yourself incredibly. You're getting super ripped. You're getting emotionally mature. You're going to build that business. And then you basically come back into society. You come back into your old social circles just to show them how different you are. Now, I would say that there's some good things from this type of mentality. Obviously, the personal growth. Yeah, stretching yourself to try new things and really developing yourself as a person, so that you can really become the best version of yourself. However, I think this trend is honestly hurting more than it is helping. Suicide rates have honestly skyrocketed in the past 3 years, and especially among my own generation and even the next generation. And more often than not, loneliness plays a really, really big factor in this. Now, you could say that if someone's intentionally isolating themselves so that in order to improve themselves, it would be all right. And I used to agree with this reasoning because I honestly went through a lone wolf season myself. But after actually going through it, I honestly can't agree with this anymore. See, right after COVID, I pretty much just started my own personal development journey, I guess you could say. And actually just trying to be the best version of myself, because I knew the only way that I was going to actually be able to do the things I know God has called me to do and God has pushed me to be towards, I needed to be way better than who I was at that moment. So I started reading more. I picked up podcasts of like really intentional and wise people. And I honestly started doing a lot more uncomfortable things. And my friend group at the time didn't really do the same things that I was doing. For instance, like I was trying to change my mindset on many things, like, money, purpose, pain, and struggle, while many of them really didn't. An example of this is that I was actually starting to change the way I saw money. I used to see money from a scarcity outlook, and I was changing it into an abundance outlook. And every time I would hang out with these friends, I was just kind of being influenced to think how I used to think, which was with scarcity. So I honestly started hanging out with them less and less, to the point where, I really didn't talk to them as much. And that's where the loneliness really creeped in. And I was honestly really, really isolated, and I kind of bought into the lone wolf mentality. So I was just determined to grow, but I didn't know how it would actually affect me. See, I barely talked to anyone. The only person I would really talk to was pretty much my parents and my girlfriend. And when I tell you I felt alone all the freaking time, I did. And it was really, really tough. Now, did I grow? Absolutely. Yes, I did. But was it depressing way, 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 way too many times? Yeah, it absolutely was. And it took me so long to actually realize that I was honestly making it a lot harder on myself. And I actually would have grown so much faster if I actually had people around me that I could look up to. Now, keep in mind, I didn't just say anybody. I didn't just say have anybody around me. No, I said people that I could actually look up to. Now, I know I've said this before on this podcast, but basically, as you know, all of us are basically the sum of the 5 closest people that are around us. So we are basically the sum of all of those people. And honestly, those 5 people who were for me at the time weren't really pushing themselves forward. And since they weren't pushing themselves, they really wouldn't help me pushing myself forward. So the naive me really just thought, I'll just do it myself. And it's like, I'll be alone for a while because, that's what happens when you grow. And it tends to become lonely. At least that's what I've always been told up to that point. And the reality is, yes, I did grow a lot in this season. And I learned a lot about myself and a lot about God as well. But I did that without really having people in proximity with me. Now, I can't imagine how much different I could have been if I actually had people growing alongside of me and going in a really similar direction. There was really so much more friction that I experienced that I really don't think I needed to in the first place. Now, a lot of people say that it's lonely at the top, or the road less traveled is also very, very lonely. And I know part of that is true, but it's not all true. See, the road less traveled doesn't have to be lonely because guess what? Other people are traveling on that road as well. The thing is, you just have to find them. And I think because a lot of people kind of believe phrases like that, it kind of pulls them away from actually pushing themselves into being uncomfortable, into doing the things that they know they're made to do, and take the road less traveled because it's a subconscious belief that kind of is stuck in our heads that we always think is real. And we don't want to be alone as people. Really, we don't. So then, because we think that is true, we don't actually push ourselves forward. And I know that everyone who has taken steps in the road less traveled and has done uncomfortable things will feel lonely. But it's not because you are meant to be that way. It's because you're in a transition period where you're basically leaving the people who you were with all your life, and now you're still finding and securing those relationships that you want for the future. Now, that middle part is basically what made me feel like crap and question pretty much everything that I was doing. Like, I was just really questioning, like, why the heck do I need to get up at 5 in the morning? Why do I really need to go to the gym every single week? Why should I really keep reading my Bible every single day? Should I really keep walking on this entrepreneurship journey, even though I haven't really yielded any results? And honestly, there was just doubts flying in my head all the freaking time. And how I honestly pushed through these doubts wasn't honestly with the hope that I would find the right people, but I had the belief that I should keep doing it because, that's just how it is. So I set myself up for pain and heartache like a lot of us do, thinking that it's supposed to be this way when it's honestly not. Now I'm telling you, finding new friends is hard. And it took me a long time to find them and actually find some people who think like I do now. And I can tell you, it is so worth it. So worth it because you have the support, the accountability, the love, and the encouragement to help you do the things that you were never going to be able to do just by yourself. See, we are not meant to be alone. No, and neither is doing it alone actually worth it. And here's some Bible that I want to bring just to point this out. See, in Ecclesiastes 4, verses 8 through 10, this is King Solomon, the wisest man on earth who, ever lived. He basically says this, and this is the case of a man who is all alone, without a child or a brother, yet who works hard to gain as much wealth as he can. But then he asks himself, who am I working for? Why am I giving up so much pleasure now? It is all so meaningless and depressing. 2 people are better off than 1, for they help each other succeed. And if one person falls, the other person can reach out and help. But someone who falls alone is in real trouble. We cannot do this life alone, and we shouldn't think that we have to. It just takes time and also our own comfort to actually go out and find the people that can actually push us forward and the people that we need in order to move forward. Now, here's the thing. How the heck do we actually find these people that we need to actually push ourselves further? Well, something that I've honestly learned throughout this journey, and actually I had to push myself to be uncomfortable to actually finally learn this, was that you need to find this out first. So who are the people that you want to be more like? Who is the person that you want to be more like? Where do those kind of people hang out? Where are they most likely going to be? Is it small groups? Is it going to be events, conferences, maybe places that you need to hang out? Then you go there. And then when you go where those people tend to meet, you will then actually get to meet them. And you have an honest relationship with them. And the main thing with this is you gotta be very, very intentional. Be intentional, uncomfortable enough to actually be intentional to hang out with them on a weekly or a bi-weekly basis. Whether it's a lunch, whether it's a Zoom call, whether it's a meeting, whatever. Just make sure that you get the time to actually talk to them, share your story, allow them to share their story with you, and ask a lot of questions because people love to answer questions, especially ones of themselves. Because trust me, every human's favorite topic is themselves. That's just a fact. And listen, I put myself through a lot of pain. And it was really, really stupid because I thought I needed to be in isolation in order to grow. But that's not really the case, because I could have grown a lot better and a lot faster with actually the right people beside me. And it was just the reason I decided to go in isolation is because I didn't have those people at the moment. So I was still in that transfer from leaving the people who I've always been with to the people who I needed to be with. And that middle, that's where the hard thing was. And that's where we all find that isolation. And honestly, this episode is just honestly to help any of you that may think this way right now. And as well, I just want to start a community, basically, where we can keep each other accountable, push ourselves forward, and really love each other. And honestly, keep us going towards the dreams that we are made to do. And honestly, something like that, whether it happens in the future, maybe it happens now, is honestly the real dream. And anyways, I hope that this helps. And if it honestly did, consider subscribing on whatever platform that you decide to watch this on, because that would honestly be so much of a gift, and so that this episode could really help a lot more people. And as always, start growing. Start now, and God bless you guys.